Okay, we're going to just announce, take a Gemara over here, the last part of the Gemara on Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, Zecha Nishnas, Referral Moshe Ben Yelev, Rochel Bas Pinchas, and today the Siyum is dedicated by Rami Badna, Yetz Hashem and his chus, that make simchas, Yetz Hashem, we should all join together. We're on Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, we're in the second line of the wide lines, Amar Rebbe Yabo, Amar Rebbe Lozer. Rebbe Yabo said the name of Rebbe Lozer. It's a very fascinating little piece of Gemara here. Talmidei Chachamim, when it comes to Talmidei Chachamim, Ein or shel Gehenim no shaletas bahem. The fires of Gehenim don't have any dominion over them. In other words, they're not going to be hurt by the fires of Gehenim. Of course, you could ask a good question at this point. What are the Talmidei Chachamim doing down there in the Gehenim to begin with? That's, of course, we'll get to that in a minute. So he says it's a kal v'chomer salamandra. It's a kal v'chomer from this being, whatever that being is, called a salamander. Rashi on the right says, what's a salamander? So Rashi explains, chaya hanevras min ha'or. It's a certain chaya, not a physical necessarily chaya, that's created from a fire. Kisha boarim eish b'mokom echad sheva shonim tamid b'li hefsek. If there's a fire that's going on for 7 years without stopping, it creates what's called the salamandra. So we have a kal v'chomer from the salamandra. What's the kal v'chomer? It says the Gemara, third line down of the Gemara in the wide lines, Uma salamandra she toledes eish he. The salamandra itself is the being created by fire. It's a toledes eish. Hasach midama. Nevertheless, if you smear its blood on you, ain't or shaletas bo. That will protect you. That no fire will ever be able to bother you. The salamander, which is created by fire, you smear yourself with its blood. You can be a fireman, go into the fiery house and be burning. You're not going to be touched. So from this we learn Tal v'chomer. We have the Talmud Chacham shekol gufanesh. The whole being of the body of a Talmud Chacham is eish, and he bases it on a pasuk. Diksiv, he quotes the pasuk, "Halo kod devari ka'esna Hashem." Like the pasuk says, Yirmiyah, that my words are like fire, says Hashem. Right? The words of the Torah are like fire. They creep out at you and they roast you with their brilliance. Alachas kama v'kama. How much more so, that it's not going to be sholate on you. All right. So of course the question is, what's the Talmud Chacham doing over there in Gehenim? So there are a number of interpretations over here of why we get the idea that this Talmud Chacham is in Gehenim. The Marit brings down a raya. He says a Talmud Chacham she'eno no kashuda. He's a big Talmud Chacham. He knows a lot, but he's missing a little bit in the midos tovos, and because of that, the Marit says not only is he doing an Aveira by not having good midos, but he's making a Chilul Hashem. And that's why he's going to be in Gehenim. Gehenim's not going to bother him too much, but he'll be in there. That's the way the Marit explains. Next line. Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, and you have to understand who's Reish Lakish. He's right. Reish Lakish was a big Baal Tshuva, one of the first and foremost. Baal Tshuva, the brother-in-law and Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. So he said, Amar Reish Lakish, Ein ur shel Gehenim shaletas b'poshe Yisrael. The fires of Gehenim do not have any dominion over the sinners of Israel, the Poshim, the ones who are negligent. He's saying the people made a mistake and they ended up in Gehenim. The fire of Gehenim is not going to bother them. Kal v'chomer mizbeach hazav. We learn it as a kal v'chomer from the mizbeach hazav, from the golden altar. Why? Mam mizbeach hazav, the golden altar, which was very thin plated gold. She'eno lov elika ove dinar zav. The whole mizbeach only had a thickness of 1 dinar, a little coin of zav, kama shanim, and the fire was burning on that mizbeach. They used to burn incense on it every single day, and even though they burned incense on it every single day, ein ha'or shel levis bo, it didn't take away any of the gold, it didn't melt any of it, it didn't ruin any of it. in any way, shape, or form. Posei Yisrael, the sinners of Israel. Now we have to make a distinction here between the Posei Yisrael and Posei Yisrael Begufam. We're talking about Posei Yisrael Begufam are those who have sinned by not putting on tefillin, kakafta, the low munach tefillin. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who negligently made mistakes. We'll see what that is. So, Posei Yisrael Shem Mileyan mitzvahs keriman. The Posei Yisrael that are filled with mitzvahs like a pomegranate. The pomegranate has 613 pits, and the Jews are filled with 613 mitzvahs. So, the Ksiv, because he quotes the Pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Kefelach Horimon Makos Rakoseich, that the roof of your mouth is like the fruit of the rimon, like the fruit of the pomegranate, which has so many mitzvahs, and yet the Gemara learns al tikvei rakosech el reikonim sheba. The words really should be read as reikonim, the empty ones amongst you. That it's like the pelach or rimon. So if you're laying mitzvahs kerimon, then certainly Allah has come over kama. In other words, the Mizbeach had constant fire on it, and nothing happened to it. You who are filled with mitzvahs, Allah has come over kama, it's not going to bother you either. Now, what if I don't understand something, says the Gemara over here. The Ben Yehoyada asked the fabulous question. He says, I don't understand. These are Posei Yisrael and they're Malayan mitzvahs kerimon. I understand. If they're Posei Yisrael, how do they get filled with mitzvahs like a rimon? Doesn't make sense. That makes sense to call them Malayan mitzvahs kerimon. The Men Yehoyada emphasize the word Malayan. You hear? Posei Yisrael shem Malayan mitzvahs kerimon. They say to themselves, I'm filled with mitzvahs. Nothing can touch me. I'm so good. I'm Malayan mitzvahs. A Jew should never say I'm Malayan mitzvahs. Never say I'm so full I can't do any more. That was the problem. So because they're Malayan mitzvahs to Rimon, and they find themselves a little bit down there where they shouldn't belong, because they went around saying, you know, God can't touch me. That's a little bit of a chutzpah. And therefore, they are down there, but the fires again aren't against them. The last Tosfos on the bottom brings on a very interesting thing. It says that the Mizbeach Hazav she'ein bo ela ovei dinar. He quotes a Tanchuma. He says, but Tanchuma, it's a fascinating Tosfos there. The Tanchuma, yesh, there is the following. Shahaya Moshe Tamiya Alzeh. Moshe Rabbeinu was amazed at the fact that the Mizbeach Hazav never got burnt out, any drop of it by the fire. Efshar Shalo Yisrael eitz. Is it not possible that it would burn some of the wood that's underneath the gold? That's what he asked Hashem. And Hashem said to him, nah, you made a mistake here, Moshe. Kach darki be'esh shel ma'ala. This is my nature when it comes to the fire that I bring from above. That doesn't consume anything else. But esh ochla esh. The fire is living off its own juice. In other words, normally fire destroys, burns a tissue, burns a table, burns a house, burns a city, because it has something to consume. But the fire of Hashem is eish ochla eish. It chews and eats off the fire itself and creates its own energy. And then he says, the eno mechala. It doesn't get destroyed. It just keeps on endless energizing itself. And then he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, you should know better than that. The pasuk said, you, Moshe Rabbeinu, were there by that fire. It didn't eat up the bush. Is the haraya. You see that the Eish of Hashem is not mechala anything. It's Eish ochla Eish. And therefore, if a Talmud Chacham has the Eish of the fire burning within him, it won't destroy him. It'll build him up because it's not something that consumes anything else. And therefore, and you're not going to get burned. Yeah, if you can give me that, this doesn't have the hard in it. We have to say it's not only Adon Allah Chagigah, it's also Adon Allah Seder Moed. Yeah. Adon Allah Chagigah, Adon Allah Seder Moed, Adon Chavan. Titan a lot, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, we like the Chalon, Lonis the Shiminon, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Losis the Shiminon, Loba Alma Hadei, Loba Alma Dosi, I don't know, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Bahad the Chalon, Titan a lot, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Lonis the Shiminon, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Losis the Shiminon, Loba Alma Hadei, Loba Alma Dosi. One more time. Had the Lord Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Bahad the Chalon, Titan a lot, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Titan Chalon, Lonis the Shiminon, Mesechta Chagigah, we say the Moed, Losis the Shiminon. The Mefarshim point out that Seder Moed is the only Seder that's in Lashon Yachid. The Noshim, the Zikin, Kodshim, Taras, but when it comes to Moed, it's one because each Moed, each Mesechta is dealing with a separate topic, even though they're all connected. The same Hani ba Papa, Ami ba Papa, Nang ba Papa, Achoy ba Papa, Bamori ba Papa, Rachman ba Papa, Rachman ba Papa, Sucha ba Papa, the body ba Papa, Ada ba Papa, Dora ba Papa. A big Mazel Tov and Yashikayach to all the sponsors of various Mesechtas and the Mirz Hashem. Tomorrow morning we're going to begin the Mesechta Yevamis. Difficult, but we'll get through it with the help of Hashem. I don't know. Amen, amen, amen. Salavoid. Modem and Achmul Vanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Lei Avosenu. Shesamto Chalkeinu v'Yosef v'Yasamiris v'Samto Chalkeinu v'Yosef Kedanos. Shana Maskim v'Hem Maskim v'Ana Maskim v'Devi Tov v'Hem Maskim v'Dvarim Teilim. Teilim Oro Amen v'Hem Amen v'Ol Amen v'Kam Socha v'Hem Amen Amen v'Kam Socha. Anu Rotzav v'Hem Rotzav Anu Rotzav v'Chayim Abba Hem Rotzav v'Lei Shachas. Shenema v'Ator Lehem Taridim v'Lei Shachas. Ansei Dom v'Mimah Lo Yirtzu Yimeim Ani Eftach Boch. Yirotzav v'Lecha Adonai Elohai. Kishem Sheta Azreinu L'Sayim Asachas. Chagigah we say the Moed came to Azreinu La'askem L'Sechtes Sforim Achenu L'Saimam Lilmod L'Lamed Lishma V'Lasses Kol Divi Yisam T'Asech V'Yava V'Zchus Kol Atana V'Amara V'Salmidei Chachamim Yamad Lanu L'Zareinu Shelo Tomash Ator Mipinu Mipi Zareinu Mipi Zera Zareinu Me'ator V'Yadelam V'Skayim Banu V'Salecha Tancha Osa V'Shochacha V'Sisma Olecha V'Kitzosa Hisichecha Kiviya Yomecha Yosif Lachos Noschaim, Orach Yom Bimina Bismol Oshe V'Chovod, Adonai Yosam Yitain Adonai Berech Samo V'Shalom. Yiskedal Yiskedash Meirabah Yomadu Biyu Osim V'Starato V'Chara Yom Esai V'Asok V'Yosam V'Ayolma V'Lubin Mekarka Divishmaim Stakol V'Eklei V'Darbe V'Lekha V'Chol V'Chol V'Nara V'Asor V'Chol V'Ishmaim V'Yam V'Chol V'Yam V'Kucha V'Yechol V'Chol Yikore V'Chol V'Yam V'Chol V'Chol V'Yisrael Bagalam is not very good. Big mazel tov to all who joined with us for the Daf Yomi throughout Seder Moed, even just for Chagigah, even just for the Siyum. Everybody has a chelik in the Siyum. I just want to mention that it's very important, even if you can't make it every day, if you can even come to us to the Daf Shabbos morning or Sunday morning, once a week, even half of it, part of it, it's all connected. You're going to gain something. So try to, you never know. All you got to do is come once, and then you say, oh, that's it, I'm committed. And once you're committed, Mirz Hashem, you come every day and we get through it. Do we understand everything? No. But we understand a lot, and we learn a lot, and we gain a lot, and we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving us the opportunity for being part of the Daf Yomi that gives us a chelek in Elokai Mimal. Yashkoyach mazel tov to everybody. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't see you entered, Mordechai, but we did the scene. I'm sure you had one there too. So everybody should be gesund.
Okay.
And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be gesund. Take care. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel.
Mazel.
Tomorrow at 7, we start Yevamis. Mirz Hashem.